Well, good afternoon. We're glad you're here.
Hi.
Hopefully, you're not all completely burned out and overwhelmed with the amount of info that you're getting. I know that these days can be a little overwhelming. I'm Ryan McLaughlin. I work in the Creighton Edge in the academic success area. So I know you've heard about the Edge. There's 3 separate parts to the Edge, although we're one big unit. But Randy and I work in the academic success portion. So I'll let her introduce herself.
Hello, I'm Randy Bivens Clark. I'm the Associate Director of Academic Success. This is my 6th year. I'm going to be starting my 6th year. I'm at Creighton, and we really love this week. We really love this program. I particularly love working with students in transition, and that's what we're going to be talking a lot about. It's really I've worked with middle schoolers for a long time too, and they were really fun. And this group is actually surprisingly similar to middle schoolers. There's a lot of kind of thinking you know everything that's going on, and then discovering that you don't know everything that's going on, and we get to help them figure out the new normal, which is really exciting. So.
Yeah, and so the idea for presenting this to parents came from a presentation that we do during Welcome Week to freshmen, which is called Keys to Success. So we started thinking, well, what if we can even get to these students earlier and have the parents kind of jump on board with this idea of preparation and being successful right off the bat. So with that said, we're hoping that you leave here today with an idea of some common challenges that we hear. And we gathered all this from our work with students. So a lot of the things that we talk about are the things that we hear are challenging from our freshman groups. We hope that you leave here with an idea of the resources that are available and how to get those to your students when challenges do arise. And really, the idea is that starting today, you'll know how to support those students because they're going to be here in 7 or 8 weeks.
And what you'll probably notice is that a lot of the things that we talk about, we're in academic success, and we're talking about that academic transition, and we're not going to be talking a lot about academic content. What we find really is the biggest academic hurdle for a student is really more of the academic mindset and the willingness to look at this experience as a new and different experience rather than just an extension of high school, a place where they've kind of honed their skills. Most of our students have done really, really well in high school, and we want them to do well here as well, obviously, but it's a little bit more challenging usually when students walking in the door thinking that they know exactly how it's going to go and that they're going to use all of the things that they learned here and that's going to work. So we'll kind of talk a lot about that change. So as we, before we get started about talking about the students, we're going to talk about a change for parents. So if you can, just do a little audience participation here really quickly. I want you to think about what is your current job description as a parent of a high school student. So like what are some of the roles that you fulfill? What are some of your tasks and responsibilities as the parent of a high school student? And then we'll talk about like where you sit on the organizational chart. So we just want to kind of throw out some things here. I heard something.
Motivator.
Okay, a motivator, yep.
Administrative assistant.
Administrative assistant.
Okay.
Parachute.
A parachute? Who said that? Okay, yeah, all right.
Money manager.
Money manager, yep. So what'd you say?
Law enforcement.
Okay, law enforcement, yep, yep. Don't be shy, we're all in this together, okay? What else?
Calendar keeper.
Calendar keeper, chef,
Banker.
banker, chauffeur, laundry person,
Maid.
maid, other things?
Counselor.
Therapist, counselor, yep,
That's a good one.
yep. Advisor, okay. So how about where would you say as a parent right now you fall on the organizational chart? Where would you be?
At the bottom.
At the bottom? Other people? CEO or like somewhere else?
Somewhere.
somewhere else?
Oh, right now?
Right now.
CEO.
CEO?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's usually what we're talking about with, as the parents of high school students, the CEO, somewhat, so you're filling all of those different roles that you just threw out. One person is kind of doing all of those things, and the CEO is the person who pretty much knows what's happening in the organization of the family, right? And you have most, if not at least a little bit of decision-making power over most things that are happening, right, in the organization. And so what we talk about is it's a change ahead for your students and a change ahead for you, right? So you will no longer be the CEO of your student, maybe a powerful manager, a regional manager maybe, you know like what's going on in some areas, but not every piece. Right now, you are the person who information is directed to. Your student may kind of filter stuff to you, but you really are the primary person. And in about 2 months, your student will be that person. So we will be looking to your student as the decision maker. We'll be looking to them as the responsible party. We'll be looking to them as the person who's going to be making their own decisions. We will be communicating with them almost exclusively. So kind of thinking about that change, it's a big change for them, but it's also a big change for you. So just kind of, it's not a terrible change, but it's definitely a change and something to get ready to get used to.
Yeah, so now that you're nothing more than an advisory board member.
Right, a trusted advisory board member. Hopefully someone will listen to what you said.
Let's talk about the obvious change that's happening, right? We're going from senior year of high school to freshman year of college. So here we've listed out many of the differences between the two. So when we talk about class time and study time, your student probably spent 8 hours a day in school for the last 13 years and maybe an hour or two a night on homework, if that. Well, now we're going to switch those roles. Hour or two a day in class, and hopefully, in a perfect world, 4 to 5 hours a night studying. Tests and quizzes, this can be pretty challenging for a lot of students because they're coming from a place where there are continually points in the grade book. They're being very reactive to what their instructors are telling them to do. This is due today, you'll get 10 points if you get it done, rather than there's a test 3 weeks from now, and so your homework isn't for points, it's studying for the next 3 weeks. So that can be a difficult thing to get in the flow of, really. When we talk about an easy A versus work for a B, the problem lies within the idea that a lot of their classes are going to have 4 or 5 tests, and that's it. So we talk to a lot of students who will, say, get like a B on an exam and they think their life's over. Oh my God, I haven't had a B in a long time. How am I ever going to save my grade? There's only 3 more exams. And so that's a difficult conversation, but students coming in with the mindset that this is going to be different, it's a lot easier to manage that change. Instructors are very different. Educators went to school to learn the art of teaching. Professors are content experts. That doesn't mean they're not great teachers. It's just a different approach. Again, you talk about having that being a very reactive student where you're waiting for someone to tell you what to do, and then you do it, and then you get an A or a B or a good grade or you do well, rather than, let me present all this content to you, now we're done, and 3 weeks from now there's an exam. That can be hard to get into that difference. And then really, this is the biggest thing, and this comes back to a lot of these other things. But right now, their freedom is essentially set by you, or their job, or their coaches, or the school telling them what time to be there and what time they can go. Well, now, there's nobody there. Nobody's gonna be searching them if they don't show up for class, unless, of course, it's becoming an issue. We're not gonna let anybody fall through the cracks here. But,
We're gonna try.
what's that?
We're gonna try not to let anyone fall through.
Of course. So one of the biggest concerns that so many students come talk to us about is time management. they think up to this point they've been managing their time so well. But showing up for things on time is very different than managing your time. Because they're suddenly going to have these days where maybe they have one class and no homework because nobody told them to do a worksheet or something along those lines. And so then they go, woohoo, freedom. So it's a tough change because it feels like, wow, this is so easy. There's never anything due. But then that first exam hits and they're like, I can't study the night before anymore, right? Anything to add there?
Well, I think, again, what we really see is we talk about this stuff to students. I'm sure your students have heard things like this before, but sometimes they don't listen. They don't think that we're talking to them. Maybe they think that these are all great ideas and this is great information. Sometimes students think because they went to a college prep school or because they were in an IB program or took all AP classes, then that's sort of a substitute for having to figure this out anew. And that, again, can be a really dangerous mindset to have because, again, a big number of our students are in that exact same situation, and the transition is still difficult. So again, coming in and you kind of helping them to put words to that or to normalize the fact that it's going to be different can be really, really helpful in the case that they do find something to be more challenging than what they were expecting. So it's called school, but it's different.
Yeah, we often say during Welcome Week that every student sitting there thinks that we're talking to the person next to them.
One simple thing to, like, for instance, this Easy A, Work for a B, a lot of times students in high school, especially students who have done well, they are used to, I go to class, I listen, I pay attention, I do what the teacher told me, I go and study the things that the teacher told me, and then I go into the exam and I get an A, right? That exact same scenario may happen, but the student may still go into that exam and get a B, right? Particularly if they're using the same study strategies and the same sort of time that they used before. And that B, sometimes I'm working with a student in an academic coaching meeting and they're really, really struggling because they've done all these things and they're saying that they're preparing. And then about halfway through the conversation, it's like, and I got an 88%. And I'm thinking, okay, I thought you were talking about an F here, but let's talk about perspective. Sometimes that B, like a B on the first biology exam, for example, is an amazing thing to have accomplished. The first biology exam is notoriously difficult. It's biology and psychology are a couple of classes where students, because they've taken those classes, a lot of students, and they've seen a lot of this material before, they go in thinking that they already know how to do it, so they don't study enough. And the way that you have to deliver or show information is going to be much different. So getting an 88% on that first biology test is something to celebrate. And as a parent, you can help ask the question, well, what was the average in the class? Because they'll most likely know. How much did you study? Ask them those kind of questions before determining whether that's something to be excited about or something to be frustrated about. And if it's something to be frustrated about, we have all kinds of things that can help with that.
Yep. So again, going back to the idea that we're talking to somebody sitting next to them, because we give a similar presentation to this where we go through resources and tutoring and everything else. But the bottom line of that last slide is that letting your student know that your senior year of high school, I'm proud of you, but just know it is going to be different. And you're going to have to do different things to achieve at the same level. We've talked to many students throughout their first semester of their freshman year who don't consider the idea of using tutoring because that has a stigma of being for remedial students or students who are in trouble, right? And so we have worked really hard to change the culture here for the last 5 years or so.
Yep.
To where tutoring has now just become part of the culture. We have students who have a high B that just want to get an A that come to tutoring. We do have students that are struggling that come to tutoring because they need to be doing better. But it's a normal thing that all students are using. And as you can see from our numbers, it's become a really normal thing here. Do you want to speak to the numbers at all?
Yeah, well, I would just say that those numbers are increasing every single year. We, again, work really hard. The tutors that we hire are students who have done well in the courses, but again, we have a lot of students at Creighton who do well in these courses. But there are also students who often, we really try to hire tutors who have used tutoring themselves. We work really hard to train our tutors so that it's a really collegial environment. So when students are walking in, it is not as like these are the students who do really well and here are the students who are struggling. It's a very friendly and accessible resource. We really like to encourage students to early on go into tutoring early. So if you're in bio or math or psychology, whatever it is, even before the first exam, tutors are people who have taken the exact same courses that you're taking. So our tutors will have taken that same course. We're not just general tutors, they're course experts. So they'll have taken that course and gotten an A or a B plus in the course. So you can go in, your students can go in and talk to them about studying. Should I be focusing on the book or on the notes? What is this teacher's test? What are this teacher's tests like? Etc. Asking like study related questions. And then they have taken control of that tutoring experience. So the first time they've gone in was really on their own terms, thinking, okay, I'm going in here because everybody said I should, it's just a thing to do, rather than maybe going in after that first psychology exam when it didn't go as well. It's a much different feeling going in there, sort of like with your tail between your legs. It's the same, you're going to get the same service, but it feels much different. So we encourage students really to take control of that. And again, as parents, you can help kind of set the tone for that. One of the things that I think parents sometimes say is, oh, you did this in high school, or you've always been really good at this, which are the things that we say to really pump up our kids and to give them that confidence. But it can also set up a really uncomfortable situation if it actually doesn't go as well as they're expecting. So just to really kind of normalize the fact that it might be different, and if it is, there's tutors for that. Check out an academic coach, talk to your friends, all of those kind of things. This is mistakes might be made. Your student is about to put themselves into a situation where they are doing all kinds of new things. So I love this chart. It talks about, this is the learning axis,
Yeah.
right, on this side, and then the intentionality of our actions on this side. And these stretch mistakes are the types of mistakes that students are going to be making during that first year, really throughout this whole process, because they're going to be putting themselves very intentionally into situations that they need to. They're brand new situations that they couldn't have mastered before, and when we do that, mistakes will happen. Anything, some of the best things that we've all done, we made mistakes along the way because there really isn't a way to learn. But it can be really stressful because college, we talk about, it's a big deal. It's setting the stage for the rest of your life. It's very expensive. If you have to take this class to do this class so that you can get this major, all of these things that we do to make it, every mistake seem really, really, really precious. So it's very hard for students to kind of put themselves out there sometimes, and we categorize a lot of mistakes as high stakes mistakes when they really aren't. And again, helping students kind of see that perspective. We are here, you're putting your kids into a place where it's kind of built for students to have these experiences, and the people and the resources exist here for that to happen. What works best is when students can see those things and they don't have to be scared of them, so that they can ask for help. If they call you, helping them to identify the resources and the people and the places that they can go for support, and then empowering them to do that on their own. And again, another mistake might happen when that happens. But again, we're here and we really want them to be having those experiences.
So we know, and it's a national statistic, that 80% of college students change their major at some point. And I'm sure some of you in here have that student who has said, since they were 10 years old, they were going to do this for a living, which is fine. Some students do that. But we know 4 out of 5 of you in here are going to have a conversation with your student about changing their major. And so as stressful as that might sound right now as a parent, you can imagine as a student, if those thoughts start coming into their head, that puts a lot of strain on the academics that are happening.
Particularly if
So-
it's the type of dream that like the whole family has bought into, it can be really, really, we talk to a lot of students who have a lot of anxiety about saying, I don't know if pre-med is gonna happen for me, or I'm not sure if I'm going to do the thing that everybody else in the family has done. It's really stressful.
So, idea being, now is a good time to start preparing yourselves, because it's likely, 80% likely, as a matter of fact. And that's not, I don't tell you that to scare you, or anything along those lines. It's just a common thing in undergraduate studies. But know the resources that are available for those things. So we have pre-professional advising. At 3:30, our friends from the Career Center in Pre-Professional Advising will be in here to discuss Edge Scholars, which is a program designed for students who are going through that process of discernment. And we've also got sophomore year until they're allowed to even pick their major. And that is very intentional. I think of myself, when I was 18, I certainly didn't see myself standing right here. And I'm sure many of you can relate to that as well. So,
I think this is really, again, our kind of big push is really kind of to normalize what the challenge will be. We're using the word challenge, but they're really experiences. They're the experiences that your kids are going to have around this academic transition. There's lots of other stuff that is going to be happening too, but this academic challenge, this is the primary reason that they're here, and it's usually the thing that a lot of students think they understand. They don't know living away from home. They don't know living with a new person. They don't know a lot of that stuff. But we can kind of underestimate how challenging this can be, and it's really the most challenging when students don't feel comfortable saying, okay, this is harder than I expected, or okay, I'm going to need some help in this. We want to normalize that idea of asking for help. So we would recommend that you take a peek at the different resources that are available. Our website is success.creighton.edu. Students can make all of their tutoring appointments there. They can schedule an appointment with an academic coach. They can learn about their academic success peer mentor. We have a program called Hippocampus, which is the first four Wednesdays in September. It's 1 hour every Wednesday from 7 to 8 p.m. It's kind of like our academic success best hits. We usually have about 40 to 60 students who register for that. And we talk about all the things that students can do to get a good start managing their time, speaking with professors, understanding like
getting
the
to
learning
know the
process.
campus, all the,
all
really
that
everything.
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So that when your student looks to you for support, you know you're aware of some of these things. And we have links to the counseling center, to the writing center, to the communication center, which is for speech. Links to all of those things are available on our website.
Yep.
But, and I'll talk about this later because they're waiting outside for
Yeah.
us. So, we want to leave, if anyone, I think we should stop. So,
Yeah.
if anyone has any questions, we will be here available afterwards, and we'll leave our cards. And we really want to be a resource to you as parents. So again, we're asking you to put this on your students. If you have questions about how to do that or what resources to point them to, we are people that you can ask. Again, our website is success.creighton.edu, and we have some cards up here. If you have any questions, we'll stick around at the end here. All right?
Thank you.
Okay. This question comes up a lot. The next session is the Creighton Edge 2, but it's a completely different session.